right, so I know there's a topic there's a lot of interest about in this room. I've talked about it a couple times in different forums, but I'm going to dive right into it. So, who am I? For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeff Peacock. I'm a product owner in LabVIEW R&D. The area that I focus on is advanced language concepts for LabVIEW NXG. So that includes things like scripting, classes, interfaces, which Steven, wherever he is, gave a really good presentation on earlier. All different things like that. So let's talk about scripting. So when I'm talking about scripting, there's really three different parts that I want to break down into. The first one is IDE integration. This is how we enable you to extend the functionality of the editor. The second one is code inspection. You can think of this most commonly in terms of VI Analyzer or doing static code analysis. And then the third one builds on top of that and is code generation, which is the ability to write G from G. These three things are pretty tightly correlated. So code generation works best when you also have code inspection. Oftentimes you're not going to be generating from scratch, you're going to be operating on a VI that already exists, or you're going to be using a template and swapping out particular nodes. And both of them work better when IDE integration is already in place, so you have the hooks to make these things more usable. Conveniently, this is also the order that we're going to try and deliver these in NXG. We are working on all of these. There are a lot of complexity around doing code inspection and code generation and trying to surface our APIs in G in a way that makes sense. Today, what I'm mostly going to be talking about is the work that we've been doing on IDE integration. So IDE integration really comes in a couple different forms. This can be something, what you have today in LabVIEW 2019, where you might have a project provider framework, or you have something as seemingly simple as a quick drop plugin. There's different directions you can go with this. And what we're doing in LabVIEW NXG is introducing the concept of a VI editor plugin. This is different than the plugins that Taylor, if you were in his presentation earlier, was talking about with applications. This is specifically talking about how we can get a VI into the context of the editor and running in that environment in a hopefully seamless fashion. And where we've started with that is with menu plugins. So the ability to add something to the menu of LabVIEW NXG that when you click it, it would run an associated VI. What does that look like? Well, we have added a new file type to LabVIEW NXG, and this is a command VI, which has an extension of .gcmd. And at first glance, it looks a lot like a VI. It has a panel, it has a diagram, it has an icon, but on top of that, it also has this menu section. And the menu section is where you're able to configure where this will show up and the name it's going to have in the menu and where it's been placed in the menu. Well, you may be asking, what menus can I put this into? With the first delivery of this functionality, there's going to be three different entry points where you can put these menus. There's a submenu under the File menu, which is File Add-ons. There's a submenu under the Help menu, which is Help Add-ons. And then there's a Tools launcher in the left rail where you'll be able to insert items as well. And the idea behind this is that the primary value of this feature when you don't have the rest of scripting might be something like, I'm shipping a toolkit and I want to include documentation, or I want to be able to launch to my website. That might be something you would put under the Help Add-ons folder. Or you might have a different case where you want to actually invoke your utility that you've shipped. That might go in the Tools launcher or in the Files menu. There are other menus that we know will be valuable as well, like being able to right-click on a file in the projects pane, or being able to right-click a node on the diagram. Those contextual cases are more valuable when we have the rest of scripting, and so that is when we would look to add additional capability in those areas. So what does this look like for your end user? Well, for your end user, it should look just the same as anything else, which is you go and you're clicking a menu item, and there's no real knowledge that there is a VI behind it. In this instance, it looks a bit like a VI because I didn't make it prettier, but I could have. And it doesn't need to show the front panel at all. It can just run and execute a command. So where are we going with this? I already talked a little bit about what we're doing with code inspection and code generation. We are actively working on tackling the challenges around that right now. We will be delivering code inspection first, and then we'll be building on top of that later to work on code generation. I don't have a firm timeline for that right now, but if you're interested, please come talk to me. The VI plugin concept that I've just been showing off, there's a lot of directions we can go with that as well. We can do the contextual menu pieces that I've talked about. There are other things that we have brainstormed that may eventually exist around, we could use this to do custom probes. We could use this to do different widgets built into the edit, or even new document types. There's a variety of different things that we can do through this framework. So that is what I'm sharing today. If you are interested in this more, please find me. I'll be around for the rest of the summer. So thank you.